video. Breakdown and prediction. Pay-per-view fight we got coming up this weekend, December 5th, out of Texas Stadium, where the Cowboys play. Errol Spence Jr., the WBC and IBF welterweight champion, versus his mandatory for the WBC, um, Mr. Danny Garcia from Philadelphia. All right, so this is a matchup between 26-0 with 21 KOs unified champion Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia, who I believe is like 36-2 or something, and with 21 KOs. All right, so Errol Spence is about 5'9" and a half, 72-inch reach. Danny Garcia is about 5'8". I believe he got a shorter reach. Um, Danny Garcia's reach is he's about 5'8", and he has a 68 and a half inch reach. So definitely, Danny Garcia is giving up height and reach. Orthodox versus Southpaw. Southpaw being Errol Spence. Now, this is Errol Spence's first fight after coming off of his car accident last year, 2019 October, I believe, because he fought Sean Porter in September. He had the accident a month later. Okay, so Errol Spence has been out the ring for over a year. You know what I'm saying? Just about over a year. Absolutely. Danny Garcia was supposed to fight the man Errol Spence. They were supposed to fight in January of 2020, this year. But due to the accident, of course, Spence was out of commission. Danny Garcia fought the guy named Ivan Redkach. All right? So, with that being said, this fight is long overdue. Errol Spence has had no tune-up fight since coming back from the injury. Wanted no tune-up fights. A lot of people suggesting that he should have had a tune-up fight. Well, if he's ready for the top dogs, the best fighters at 147, everybody who's not named Terrence Crawford, then let's get it on. You know what I mean? We ain't here to say, give him any excuses. The man said he's ready. He's ready. You know what I mean? So, it's an interesting fight. Danny Garcia obviously is going to be the shorter fighter, shorter reach, and also primarily, a guy who came down from the lower weights, from even as low as 140, where he was a champion at 140, unified champion, lineal and ring magazine champion. He was the man who beat the man, and he's at 140, and he was the guy people had to come see. You know what I mean? Now, Danny Garcia, when I say he was the man over there, he definitely was the best of the best at 140. But, this is the boxing game. You can only stay on top for so long because there's 1,000,001 boxers who's going to be on your ass trying to come up, get in their Mando positions, and anything could happen. Just like this fight right here. Anything can happen. This is going to be a tough breakdown and prediction. As far as breaking it down, that shouldn't be no problem. But as far as the prediction, that's exactly what it is, man. I ain't got an almanac like Back to the Future 2. We just gonna make a prediction of what we think's gonna happen, or at least I will. You know what I mean? So let's get into it. Now from the Southpaw stance, I think keys to victory for Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia should be quick to pull the trigger. Don't be gun shy. You know what I mean? Don't be gun shy, my guy. Danny Garcia needs to carry and fight with the pride of Philly on his back. You know what I mean? He needs to treat this fight like he's back in Barclays Center, which is basically Danny Garcia's, that's where he fights mostly at. And, he still has a record for the selling out the Barclays Center. He's, when he fights on the East Coast in New York City and Brooklyn, that's when he's at most comfortable. You know what I mean? This fight right here is basically going to be in the man's Errol Spence backyard. No ifs, ands about it, no way around it. This fight right here is in this backyard. You know what I'm saying? That's like, I don't know, like if Tommy the Hitman Hearns was still fighting and having a fight in I know the Silver Dome ain't around. Let's say the Ford Stadium with what you call it, where the Detroit Lions play. You know what I'm saying? That's like Ray Leonard here in the Washington D.C. Maryland area, having a fight where the Redskins play, right in your backyard. It don't get no bigger than that. You know what I mean? Now that Danny Garcia, and this is boxing, just like every other sport. Home field or home ring advantage plays a big factor, massive factor. That's why it's when you see a hometown guy get beat up in his hometown, knocked out or stopped, whatever, just get his ass handed to him, that's a big deal to me at least. And that's why it was a big deal for Errol Spence to go over there to Sheffield and grab that strap, you know what I mean? That IBS strap that he has till this day. He went into hostile territory and did what he had to do, just like Marvin Hagler when he won his undisputed titles at middleweight. He went over there to England, beat the shit out of Alan Minter. Y'all know the rest. If you don't know, go do your homework. But he went into hostile territory. You get an extra feather in your cap for doing that. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. Tyson Fury gets an extra feather in his cap for doing what he did to Wilder. Guys like Anthony Joshua, he failed miserably when he attempted to do that. That's why, he can be regarded as these other warriors in historic lore of guys going over to guys' hometowns, backyards, and giving and beating the shit out of them, or even just winning. You know what I'm saying? So Danny Garcia, from the orthodox stance, gotta let them hands go. You know what I'm saying? Can't be just there, be like a sitting duck waiting just to counterpunch. Don't become like Adrian Broner. You know what I'm saying? Don't be like AB not letting your hands go. You know what I mean? The kryptonite for that southpaw fighter in Errol Spence, you gotta pump that right hand. Danny Garcia just doesn't have a left hook that he closes his eyes and he throws from his waistline. Nah, he also got a beautiful straight right hand. You know what I mean? Nice right cross that he needs to apply at all times, you know what I'm saying? The footwork game, Danny Garcia has slower feet, yes. And that's where a guy like what's his name, Errol Spence, wouldn't have a problem having to find the man, Danny Garcia. You know what I mean? You check it. But that also plays into Danny Garcia's palm. He likes the guys to come at him so he could unleash them counter punches, primarily the left hook. So Danny got to mix it up, you know what I mean? At times, Danny tries to act like he has footwork. You seen what he did versus Lamont Peterson in the earlier rounds. He tried to act like he can bounce on his feet. He tried to basically was trying to mimic what uh, 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 um, Lamont Peterson was doing. You know what I mean? That's not his game. But if he has to do that in spots, then so be it. I thought Danny lost that fight to Lamont Peterson, but if he has to employ these type of tactics, you know what I mean, whether it's being flat-footed at times, bouncing around, circular movement, lateral movement, he has to bring everything out the boxing book, you know what I mean? Danny Garcia has to throw that right hand, keep this guy up off of him, pump that jab, you know what I'm saying? He has to have better head movement, you know what I mean, to unleash that left hook, you know what I'm saying, on the counter punch, you know what I mean? Got to keep his lead foot on the outside. You check it. You know what I'm saying? He has to keep his lead foot on the outside, primarily circling towards his left. You know what I mean? Sure, that's when he circles towards left, the man, what's his name, will be pumping his right jab. You know what I mean? You check it, but it's better to stay away from the man's straight left hand, Errol Spence's straight left hand, by circling towards left. You know what I'm saying? He has to have superior IQ in order to beat Errol Spence. Errol Spence is a guy whose his keys to victory will be trying to cut off the ring, trying to meet Danny Garcia fire for fire, and throw them body shots. You know what I mean? But Danny Garcia gotta be aware of that and also gotta let his hands go to the point where the man Errol Spence is also reluctant to throw punches. You know what I mean? You check it. Because Errol Spence is not a defensive wizard. You know what I mean? Look at the fight with Sean Porter, which I did have him winning 8 rounds to 4, at worst 7 rounds to 5, and there was a knockdown. You know what I mean? But the man Sean Porter applied mean pressure, especially with the body shots. You know what I'm saying? Danny Garcia is a decent body puncher, but he's not better than Errol Spence at that, and he definitely ain't gonna be like doesn't have a style like Sean Porter. Those two fights that Danny Garcia has losses on his record should be more, but that's neither here nor there. Those two fights, Sean Porter and the Keith Thurman fight, those were controversial decisions. You know, controversial, man. Very close fights. Danny Garcia was in those fights till the very end. But for Danny Garcia, I'm sorry, the Keith Thurman fight, you know, Danny got clipped in round two, and he got hurt bad, and he was like, "I'm not gonna go through that fire again." I'm saying, so he played it a little too safe in the middle rounds, turned it up in the later rounds, but it was just a little too late. Danny Garcia has a good chin, but he needs to be able to mix it up with the man. You know what I mean? You check it. You also got to bring the pain and give the crowd, judges, and everybody at home the perception that, look, you can stay in the pocket with this guy. You could trade with him because you're trying to lure the man, Errol Spence, into throwing punches and bunches so you could clip him with that left hook, that devastating mean left hook that Danny closes his eyes and throws from his waistline. You know what I mean? That'll be an advantage for the man, um, Danny Garcia. But he got to keep that lead foot on the outside. You know what I'm saying? You check it. He has to throw that straight right hand often, to the point where if this guy is now, Errol Spence is now aware that that right hand is coming often, maybe he might be moving his head, might move his head towards his right, and there goes Danny. Boom, throw that left hook, and you could probably knock his block off. You know what I mean? I do believe Danny has a stronger chin than Errol Spence. I'm gonna keep it tall with y'all, you know? And that's not anything against Errol Spence. I've just seen Danny Garcia fight bigger punches than the man Errol Spence throughout his career. Let's be honest. Who's the biggest puncher that Errol Spence has fought? Who? I'll wait. Right. I've seen Danny Garcia walk fire with one of the meanest punches at the time, one of the biggest KO artists in around 2013 in Matisse. You check it? And he survived up out of that pretty well. And as a matter of fact, he inflicted severe damage on that man Matisse's eye. So Danny Garcia got the punching power, got the stronger chin, that but he has also to be a very smart fighter in there and make adjustments. You know what I mean? That's what he didn't quite do in the Sean Porter fight, I think. And even though I thought he won the fight, but I could see why he didn't win. He didn't make the adjustments by letting his hands go, just waiting there for counterpunching, and that's what really, worked against him. You know what I mean? Errol Spence, on the other hand, has to be very methodical. You know what I mean? Because he already knows the kryptonite of the southpaw is that straight right hand down the pipe. You know what I mean? He's gonna have to outbox the man. You know, keep his distance because he's a longer, taller fighter. He has one of the best jabs in the welterweight division, and he needs to apply that jab. He has a better jab than Danny. You know what I mean? Keep pumping that jab. Try to break down the man Danny with the jab. Throw the body shots. You know what I mean? And basically have the man Danny Garcia now just waiting to counterpunch. And if he does that, with the man Danny Garcia is just primarily in counterpunch mode, Errol Spence should win this fight on points via decision. You know what I mean? Can Danny Garcia win this fight via knockout or decision? Absolutely. He just has to be aggressive. You know what I mean? Have the same kind of swag you have against the Brandon Rioses of the world and the Granados of the world. You know what I'm saying? He didn't get the man Ivan Redkach up out of there, but Ivan Redkach is not a bomb. A lot of people suggested or thought that he should, but this guy is a guy who's, he's like a French contender, the man Ivan Redkach, you know what I mean? So I think the man Danny Garcia got to be all about also applying pressure on the man Danny Garcia. I'm sorry, Errol Spence, using different angles as far as the movement and giving different looks. Don't just be the quintessential flat-footed fighter who's just waiting there to counterpunch. Danny Garcia's MO. Nah, you got to mix it up. And when he fights all these other fighters, like I said, he does mix it up. You know what I mean? But when he fought the guys like Sean Porter, Keith Thurman, he got a little spooked after getting clocked in that second round. But Sean Porter, he was just there waiting to counterpunch. Sean Porter did miss a lot of punches, but the judges seen the more aggressive fighter, being the come forward fighter in Sean Porter, and being the more active fighter. Danny can't let the man Errol Spence be the more active fighter. If Spence throws two, Danny must throw three. If Spence throws a 3-punch, 4-punch combination, Danny gotta throw combinations that are better and actually more eye-catching, cleaner punches. So this is gonna be a good fight right here. I'm not even really going to so much consider this guy's not coming. This guy ain't fought in a year, coming off a car accident. Look, time will tell if his punch resistance to his body isn't the same. We won't know that till come fight night. You know what I mean? So I'm just going by you're only as good as your last fight. I'm going by the man Errol Spence's last fights and Danny Garcia. You know what I mean? So with that being said, I think that Danny Garcia has an opportunity to win this fight. But I think Danny Garcia is going to be at the end of that jab, getting hit with that jab. You know what I'm saying? And it'll be a close fight. You know what I mean? The body shot game, I think Errol Spence is going to be, his punch is going to be more, it'll have a factor, will be more of a factor than Danny Garcia's body punching. And I just think, this fight being in Texas, man, it's Texas, baby, Danny Garcia got to walk up out of there with a knockout in order to beat the man. You know what I mean? If it's a close decision, which I believe it will be, I believe that they'll give the nod to the hometown guy, Errol Spence, you know what I mean? So I see this fight going 7 rounds to 5 in order of Errol Spence, you know what I'm saying? Possibly a split decision, majority decision maybe. But I think Errol Spence wins this fight. What's up with you, Boxing Learner? How you feeling, man? He's in the chat. That's my breakdown and predictions. Leave your thoughts in comments. Let me know who y'all think's gonna win this fight. I got Errol Spence via 12-round decision, 7 rounds to 5. Controversial decision, where we will be talking about it come Saturday night. Be Marsh Boxing. I'm gone. Peace.